Darren is a super agent. He's worked with some of the biggest names: Muhammad Ali, Magic Johnson, Hulk Hogan, Dennis Rodman, Carmen Electra, and Pam Anderson, and Denise Richards, and now David Goggins.
Presidents and world leaders would have given anything to be a part of what was about to go down. It was the greatest rivalry in sports history, and so much bigger than sports politically, historically. My first reaction was to pull out like a half a dozen Percocets and snort them, because I'm like, how is this even happening? There was a guy that was selling Michael Jordan memorabilia. There was a huge fraud bust. All the merchandise was counterfeit. So I went from now being this hotshot to more or less losing everything. My deepest, darkest.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Travis Makes Friends podcast, where it's our mission to help you build better friendships. Today on the show, I have an old friend of mine back on the show for, I don't know, second, third time, something like that. Darren Prince, what's up, man?
Good, man. Everything's good. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. For those who don't know Darren is sort of a super agent. He's worked with some of the biggest names in sports, and I'm not just saying that because that's what you're supposed to say. We're talking about Muhammad Ali, talking about Magic Johnson, Hulk Hogan, Dennis Rodman. He works now with a lot of these online personalities like David Goggins and people like that. So when it comes to building friendships and building relationships with people who are historically difficult to get in touch with, Darren has absolutely mastered that game to a significant degree. He's also written a book about his journey to recovery, which we've talked about on the show at length in the past. But I want to sort of start there, man, because there was a story that you told, and I think this would be a great jumping off point to just get into the conversation. There's a story that you told, I think it was last time that we talked, but it was a while ago. So I'd love for you to tell me the story of you walking into the NBA All-Star game, and Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali, who was obviously historically hated each other. Just set the scene and tell me that story really quick, both from the crowd's perspective of how big of a spectacle that was, but then also the experience that you had in your siloed world of addiction at that time.
It's funny because you cut a great reel the last time we spoke about this, but it's two parts.
Okay.
You interviewed so many people, I forgot the first part.
Okay, let's do it.
The dinner in Ali's suite the night before. So this was years in the making, 7 years in the making. And I got a call from my dear friend Harlan Warner, who was Ali's main agent, brought me into the team in 1994. And Joe always wanted to do it in Philly. He didn't trust the situation outside of his home turf. That's how deep, the trauma and the distrust was.
This was when it was sports rivalries were real hate, not like media for promotions, just for the sake of selling tickets. Social media was barely even a thing.
They genuinely, they respected each other, but they disliked each other. And so Harlan calls me and says, hey, I just spoke to Lonnie Ali, Muhammad's wife, and they'd like to invite you, Joe, and his son Marvis to Muhammad's suite tonight in downtown Philly. The game's tomorrow. He's not going to go out. What do you think? And I mean, man, at the time, I'm an active opiate addict. So anything that triggers excitement, anxiety, highs, lows, whatever it might be, first thing I think of is I got to get my opiates.
Yeah.
And so I go to my hotel room. I sniff a couple. I call up Joe because we had an event to go to that night. And I told him, because I was a nervous wreck. I'm like, what if he says no?
Yeah.
I really look like an asshole. And without hesitation, he goes, you know what, boss man? He stuck on and goes, boss man, let's do it. It feels right. Let's do it. Call up Marvis. And so him and Marvis came, and my boy Nicky C was also with me in another room. And Joe called me from the lobby. He's like, come down, and get us. And bro, I'm literally in the room. I took 5 minutes to go down because my first reaction was to pull out a half a dozen Percocets and snort them and then check my nose and make sure I'm okay. Because I'm like, how is this even happening? And it was so bittersweet because Harlan was stuck in Vegas.
You felt, sorry to cut you off. You just felt like the moment was too overwhelming to walk into it sober, essentially?
Yeah, and how and why me? I wasn't worthy of... presidents and world leaders would have given anything to be a part of what was about to go down. It was the greatest rivalry in sports history, and so much bigger than sports politically, historically. The Vietnam War stopped the night of March 8th, 1971 for the fight of the century, one of the biggest sporting spectacles of all time. So big that Frank Sinatra couldn't get ringside seats. He had to get a press credential for Life magazine to be a
Frank
photographer.
Sinatra?
Yep. And, you know, so I'm like, how? Like, yeah, so that was my best thinking. And, you know, we get to Ali's room. Lonnie opens up the door. She was super sweet. And Joe kind of trots over to Muhammad that was sitting on the couch. And I remember like yesterday, man, it was Muhammad looked up with that smile that just lights up a world and starts biting on the bottom lip, you know, when he's to taunt Joe. And Joe goes, hey, man, how you doing? How you feeling? And Muhammad like reaches out like this. Now, he's very overweight at the time. I know he wasn't following a good diet and the Parkinson's medication. They were kind of working on balancing out a little bit better. So Joe had to like kind of lock in his leg and go under his armpit to help him up. And Muhammad just falls on Joe's shoulder, literally like a baby, and his head's like this. And I'm looking, and you see tears going down Ali's eyes. And Lonnie just looks at me and Joe and Marvis and said, Darren, thank you, Joe, thank you. Muhammad finally found the last level of peace that he needed.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my God. And I didn't know how long this was going to last. Like, what was this going to be 15, 20 minutes? And then she's like, oh, guys, you know, by the way, let's all come to the table. It's like this massive suite with this table. You would think like it's the presidential suite for a president.
Yeah.
And she's like, I have food being delivered. And Joe, I know you're diabetic. So I was very I'm like, we had a full-fledged dinner for like an hour and a half.
Wow.
Joe's at one end and Ali's at the other. And I think about 20, 30 minutes into it, Muhammad starts with the bottom lip, and he goes, Joe Frazier, I'm going to get the gorilla in Manila. And Joe's eating, and he drops his fork and knife in the food. And he goes, man, didn't we just break bread and make love back there? Am I going to have to kick your ass again for another 43 rounds? And everybody, I'm like, this is just, how in the world?
Are you just kind of fly on the wall? Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
You know,
you fly on the wall, just like watching the whole spectacle in front of you.
I was, but I was also engaging the conversation because I was, you know, my superpowers were like I was feeling good because I was, you know, a little bit euphoric.
Sure.
So, you know, I couldn't be actually present. For that. So that was the one way that I knew how to be somewhat functioning to be a part of. And you know, so the night ended. They did a beautiful prayer, Marvis, Joe, and Ali. I remember every single word because I was right behind them. And Joe and Muhammad shut their eyes. Marvis was a reverend, and he goes, Dear Lord, we have forgotten and we have forgiven, and please help heal this man. And, you know, so his fans can get to enjoy him and his children and his grandkids. And he goes, just please look out for my brother, Muhammad. And everybody's got tears in their eyes. So I really thought that was it. So then the NBA
in terms of the meeting, you thought like
that was it. I just thought, look, maybe.
It's also wild to think of guys like that they also need peace. You know, that's like Superman still needs peace. You know what I mean? They're still wanting to close those open loops.
I think peace is underrated. I think it's the most important thing in life, period. Every relationship. If you don't have peace, you have nothing.
That's very true.
So the next day, this woman, Stella at the NBA, there's a couple people, they actually reached out for me. And me and Joe and Nick were going to the game anyway. And this part I haven't really told much. I think I wrote about in my book. They said, I think it was the woman Stella, she goes, was Joe with Muhammad last night? We heard some like crazy rumors. Like, were you guys? I go, no. I said, we're just you know, hanging out, you know. And she goes, all right. She goes, the reason I'm asking, like, you know, the NBA and like Commissioner Stern, like, we're thinking, like, is there any way to sit Joe near Muhammad at the game? Like, you think it would be the most unbelievable spectacle, like courtside? So I heard the word near. So I'm not thinking it's next to.
Yeah.
So me, Joe, and Nick walk in. Place goes nuts. It's Joe's hotel. You know, Smokin Joe, and like only Ali can make an entrance. So we get there, and we're in seat 3, 4, and 5, center courtside. There's only 2 seats to my right. I'm in seat 3, seat 2, and 1 are empty.
And this is NBA All-Star weekend, so like
Jordan's playing for the Wizards. Kobe's there. AI. I have a photo where my guy Steve is that close. That's how close we were center court side. And, Britney's dating Justin Timberlake then. Alicia Keys did America the Beautiful. Elton John did the halftime. I mean, it was when All-Star games were All-Star games.
Right. Yeah.
Not what we struggle to watch now.
What we avoid now.
So, I've been out with Ali, and I know that Ali chant, and all of a sudden we're sitting there, and you start hearing Ali, Ali, and I look over, and Joe elbows me, and he goes, "The butterfly here?" Because that's who to call him, the butterfly. I go, "He's coming in now," and Muhammad comes right around, and he shakes Joe's hand. He sits right next to me, and then Howard Bingham, Muhammad's best friend, the famed photographer who passed away many years ago, sat at seat 1. And now I'm really uncomfortable because I'm like, why am I in the middle of these two guys? I have to find a way to get up. The moment is them sitting together. It's just really embarrassing that I'm stuck between the two of them.
Yeah.
And Joe took the initiative to give me a little elbow. He goes, "Boss, man, you want to switch seats with me?" And I'm like, "Champ, it'd be a great honor." Yeah. And I got up, I've tears rolling down my face. The arena just erupted. They saw exactly what was going on. Alicia Keys was doing America the Beautiful and looked at both of them. I mean, all the celebrities were just trying to get near them, take photos. They don't want to even deal with it. They basically just said, Joe had to communicate for Muhammad. He was understanding Muhammad's speech was a little slurred then, but he was he goes, "Boss," he goes, "just do us a favor, get the security man and just see if he could stay right there." He goes, "We kind of want to, because this is nice that we're having this right now." And I'm like, this is unbelievable that I'm being told, no matter how big A-list they are, they're not Ali and Frazier, and they don't want anywhere near them right now. This is their moment.
Right.
And, it just became, I remember at the halftime right before Elton John came out, I had security take me into the VIP tunnel locker. And at this point, the high that I was on was fading. And same sort of thing. I think I pulled out a couple Oxycontins because I'm I need to be let up for the second half to sit here because this is just so friggin' overwhelming.
Yeah.
And, I heard that there was a moment, I think it was right after the Star Spangled Banner, and you can find this online too, where Joe was holding Muhammad up. They were both standing, and everybody basically sat, and Joe saw them on the screen, so he knew not to sit down. And the place just went nuts. I mean, absolutely berserk. Magic was there with Cookie, 5 seats away from me, just just came over and just said, how beautiful this was. Yeah. And I remember Muhammad leans over to Joe and he goes, "Yo, champ." And Joe goes, "Yeah, champ." And that was pretty amazing that they were acknowledging their
mutual acknowledgement.
And he goes, "We're still two bad brothers, aren't we?" He goes, "Yes, we are." And one of those moments you never forget in life.
Magical moment. Yeah.
It's all downhill after
globally,
that.
Culturally. No shit.
There's nothing I could ever be a part of, period. Yeah. I mean, that comes close to
one of the greatest moments probably ever in sports history. Yeah. Where did you get involved in all of this, man? To your point, what you're saying about, who am I? How do I even deserve to be in this room? You know what I mean?
My backstory, I don't know how much we touched on it when we did the interview 5 years ago. So
sports
I wasn't really
memorabilia things.
I wasn't a great student, and I had a very suffocating mom that raised me as a mama's boy a little bit too much, where I would get extreme anxiety if I was away from her, and her unresolved traumas and anxiousness to be near me and always be watching over me.
Dad was
kind of got instilled into me. My dad was the complete opposite.
Okay.
My dad was the healthy version, the Prince side of the family. The Eisenberg side was where the isms came from. So not knowing at that age, like my guy Steve's here, who we go back since I was 10, and he runs my agency with me now for almost 30 years. He would always say there was like these little patterns of like this obsessive, OCD moments. And I'd call his house and then I'd call 10 minutes later because I didn't get a call back. All that came from my mom in a way, and so I was verbally teased because I was always put in these small special ed classrooms. All my friends were in bigger classes. And so when I would hear my parents arguing or I just didn't want to be a part of whatever was going on in the house. I would lock myself in my bedroom, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. And I had this fictitious business where I had 4 different odd jobs that I'd buy all my friends' baseball card collections. And I would get this price guide called CCP, Current Card Price Guide. Only the OGs remember CCP. And it was a newspaper. It was like the stock exchange. And I would, in my own mind, I had a price gun. So every time the prices would go up, I would change the sleeve. I'd put the price on the back of it. And one day I'm in an intro to business class with the teacher, Ali and Evel, who's still a very good friend of mine. My mom passed away a year and a half ago. He came to the funeral. We've been in touch ever since.
And this was in high school? You're talking about?
Yeah, this was high school. And he challenged the intro to business class to go home and create a business. So in my mind, I actually thought I had a business. I didn't make one sale, but God bless my father, because there's no way I'm sitting there talking about Prince Mark and everything I've accomplished if his reaction to what I told him I was creating wasn't what it was. So, you know, I told him I'm going to start this baseball card company. I want to call it Baseball Card City. There's trade shows. I can get a table, you know, exhibit my stuff. And he took such great interest in it. He goes, oh, just show me what it's worth. Show me some of your cards. And I said, yeah, Dad, I kind of need insurance. He goes, how much do you need? I'm like, probably about 8 or 9. And he goes, you know what? Let me call the homeowner's insurance in case there's ever a flood, God forbid a fire, or stuff gets stolen at a show. I'll get you $1,000 worth of insurance. And I wish he was here to tell this story, because he always used to tell it so great. And he goes, you tugged on my shirt. You go, Dad, not 800, 8,000. Yeah. And he goes, my head's spinning. How in the world and who did you rob to get $8,000 worth of baseball cards?
The things that your kids do,
14 years old, I go upstairs, bring the price guy down. I start showing him. And he goes, no, where can you sell them? And I go back upstairs again and put this big newspaper ad, head of the West Essex Tribune, our local newspaper. It was the Old School Holiday Inn, and I'll never forget their names, Sal and Rocco Salino, Italian brothers from Livingston, were the promoters. And I think the table was like $20. So I was a little concerned about taking the full risk. And again, ironic that he's here. I called up Steve, and I go, bro, for $10, how much fun would this be? We used to go to Toys R Us all the time. We would all have, you know, our cards. But, you know, he did it more for like a hobby. He wanted to just come and hang. And not realizing that every day after school, I wasn't doing my homework. I was more hyper-focused on, my dad had a typesetting and design company. I wanted the perfect sign. So I bought a beautiful gold display case. I, you know, wanted to make sure my inventory, I had my own. Back then we didn't have a computer, so I remember taking a typewriter and typing up all my image, because I don't want to bring all the cards, but I want to make sure I knew what I had in case somebody wanted it, where I can maybe meet them during the week. So, I mean, I had like total like hyper focus. And
but here's the thing though, Darren, didn't anybody tell you that you can't be successful unless you focus on school?
No, but I think I just felt I can never be successful because of the classes I was in and being verbally teased at such a young age that everybody else was going to go to college. I'll be lucky to get into basic studies somewhere. And so I made about $1,000 on that afternoon. But Steve didn't do it for the money. He did it for the fun. Came home that night, went over everything with my dad. He was just blown away. And he told me words that really like changed my life and made me believe in myself. He goes, you know, a lot of your friends have a part of their brain that works very common and super effective to be successful at what they want to do. He goes, but you have something in yours that none of them have. He goes, the way your brain works with numbers and statistics, he goes, I've never seen anything like it. He goes, and we're going to hone in on that, and that's going to make you successful.
Big ups to Dad for that, man. Like that's, I think about that a lot with my own kids where, you know, school is just set up for only one type of person typically, you know, and it rewards that personality type. But it's for some reason not enough to reward that personality type.
Exactly.
It also means that they then by definition almost have to put down anybody else who doesn't fit within that bucket. And you sort of start throwing all these labels like special ed or ADHD or any other acronym or a bunch of, you know, letters that you can throw at these kids, when in reality it's just like you just got to give them something that they care about. And they will do that thing. And you know,
and I don't think anything's changed with that. It's like everybody's got great potential to do great things. It's finding what that is that you're passionate about, that you want to go 150% on. And I was very fortunate to find it, you know, and then
at a young age too,
I mean, I'm 16 years old, bro. And I remember like my Uncle Joe, who passed in my early 20s, like he came by with my dad, and they're having a conversation about, some of his stockbroker friends would love to invest in my business. They gave me $20,000. I gave them back in 45 days, $25,000.
Wow.
And I probably made $50,000 off all the cards that I bought.
Wow.
They were ecstatic. So I learned about investment. I learned about, margins.
Yeah.
I think at 16 years old, we used to have this old accountant, Jim, and their heads were spinning because I probably made over $200,000 in 1986 at card shows, and I was running ads in magazines. So now my ego is getting the best of me. Sure. Because all the kids that made fun of me, I'm sitting there looking at them and being like, I'm making more money than your mother and father.
Exactly.
How about that? And then you start thinking about what happened. Not to get sidetracked, but at sleepaway camp when I was 14, I know you know the story, when I tried Demerol for the first time, you mix drugs with making money at a young age, broken, insecure, hole
you throw in a little bit of ego, little
it's
insecurity.
Recipe for a freaking disaster.
Yeah. So from that point, you basically just started getting into collectibles at large, correct?
It was basically baseball cards for about 4 years. Then the basketball, hockey, and football market finally got on fire, I'd say around 88, 89. Okay. It was very late. Even like the Jordan rookies and all that stuff, they were worthless. I mean, nobody cared about that stuff forever. So it took about 88, 89 for all that to take off. And I think it was originally the Bo Jackson's rookie and Brian Bosworth. And then Score came out with Barry Sanders, and then Upper Deck came out with the iconic Griffey Jr. rookie. So there were different sort of card companies. And then people started taking notice to Jordan, even though he didn't win a championship, but he was real close in 89, 90. And then that 86 Flair set became a juggernaut. And I mean, who would have thought now, fast forward. So what I did was I sold my company at 19. I dropped out of college. I had a 0.86 GPA. I was just done.
You were just
doing it to make my parents happy.
Say you went to college because that's just what you're supposed to do. Type of thing.
My parents happy, and I did so bad. My dad made me pay the bill because he wasn't disappointed that I had a 0.86. He was disappointed because he felt I went to party my ass off and experience a woman for the first time in my life. Yeah. So he felt that just wasn't right.
If you want to keep doing that, then you pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I sold the company because at these, I don't know if you ever bring your kids to any of these shows or if you ever been with any of your friends. A lot of athletes are there signing autographs. A lot of celebrities are there signing autographs. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. I'm like, this is like amazing. Like people wait in line for hours. They bring a favorite photo of their favorite athlete who's ever signing. It could be a baseball, a jersey, and they get to meet him, take a photo. I'm like, this is so cool. And a mutual friend of mine, very famous leather jacket designer back then, I met through him very briefly, Harlan Werner at his office in LA on Pico back in, I think, 1991, 1992, when I sort of started phasing out of the cards. And he told me that this guy was Muhammad Ali's agent. So I got the thought in 1993, I'm like, you know what? Let me start doing this. Like, this would be really freaking cool. So now you take the broken soul, the insecure, less than, with a lot of money, but not fulfilled, always looking back for the people that I want them to see who made it bigger than anybody. Yeah. And I'm in the room with Muhammad Ali where he's signing 500 boxing gloves and trunks and photos. And me and my friends were all there taking photos. And crazy enough, we'd come back, we'd start running ads, and the stuff was selling. So Harlan, God bless him too, after I did such a great job with Muhammad, he goes, there's somebody in LA that you would do really amazing for, and especially because you're back east.
There's a fella I know, yeah.
And he's like, I want to make an intro to his agent, Lon. He goes, Magic Johnson. And I'm like, oh, I hate him, man. Harlan, I grew up a big 80s Celtics fan.
Of course.
I'm a Larry Bird guy. He goes, no, I know. He goes, but look, you've done such a great job marketing Ali and putting him with the right companies and making sure these signings you organize are like, he goes, you're very good at the details. Let me connect you with them and see what. So I did one for him. And then it started getting into celebrities, and through another friend back then who's no longer with us, drug addiction, overdose, I got introduced to Chevy Chase. And then my friend Henry Holmes, one of the most iconic entertainment lawyers, helped me lock down Pamela Anderson. And so now I'm doing all these incredible signing bookings. We have a merchandise company, but I made one pivotal mistake. I was doing it for about 2 years. I felt untouchable. I was on top of the world. Now I'm being written up in all the big magazines, newspapers, being treated like a celebrity at these conventions. There was a guy out of Boston that was selling Michael Jordan memorabilia in quantity, but it wasn't easy to get. You would get the product every 3-4 months. So the rumor had it that Michael was like losing gambling and lose betting, and he would sign for his boy, so he wouldn't have to have a paper trail of a check. And an FBI forensic document expert that was being praised by the Holy Grail publication of the sports memorabilia business was the authenticator. And long and short, bro, there was a huge fraud bust that all the merchandise was fraudulent, counterfeit. So I went from now being this hot shot to more or less losing everything.
Yeah.
I was
at
25.
25.
So it was like an early midlife crisis. And I don't know what I was going to do. It was just like, this is crazy. So I'm sending refund letters out, doing everything I can to keep my reputation intact.
Yeah. Salvaging relationships.
I had Magic sent a letter to the judge. The Ali sent one. Smokin Joe, Rodman at the time. I mean, they really stepped it up for me because they knew I was a good kid that just made a major mistake.
Yeah.
And I got out with being charged with making a false statement to the FBI. And again, my father, because Prince Marketing Group doesn't exist if that experience doesn't happen. I was down to my last $3,000. It was an old school Jewish guy, hated the way that I would spend money. And I booked a fly fishing trip in Alaska for us. It was something we always wanted to do. We were huge fishermen. Since I was 5, he would take me fishing. So we're out there on this beautiful stream in Alaska with our own tour guide, fly fishing. And I'll never forget him look over. He would call me fella. He goes, fella, what's your next move? What do you think you're going to do now? You're going to start doing signings again or what? And I go, Dad, I really think after experience like the booking and the signings, I want to be an agent. I think I could do like the big stuff. I really think, I can network my ass off and meet the right people. I just don't have 8 years to go to law school. And he drops the fishing pole and he looks at me and goes, law school? Because don't you know that life is about who you know and not what you know?
Isn't that interesting?
You just,
audience.
You were just with Joe Montana. You were just with Matt. You were just with this one. He's like, there's no lawyer out there.
Exactly. This is what all the attorneys are wanting.
To have you as their client because of who you work with.
Right.
You have to learn to leverage that. And he goes, I would speak to Magic next time you see him and tell him your vision because he knows about making mistakes. It was 3-4 years after the HIV announcement. He supported you. I know how he feels about you and us. Yeah. Yeah. And it was probably 3 weeks later, I was in Michigan. We had an event in I think Gibraltar is a trade show convention that's no longer around. And I went into his hotel suite while I was getting ready. And it's almost like he spoke to my dad because he sort of asked me the same question. And I told him I want to be an agent.
Real quick, too, what's the age difference with you and Magic? Like, you're 25, 26 this time. How old was he?
At the time. So I think now he's 65 or 66. So maybe he's got 10, 11 years on.
Okay. And definitely like older brother mentorship type of a role. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I'm nervous as hell, man. And he asked me, who do you have in mind that you want like for clients?
Yeah.
And he's like, maybe I could help.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oof, that doesn't sound like he wants. And I'm like, you got to ask. You have to ask. This is going to be one of those moments in life. You're going to walk out and you're going to regret for not doing. My heart's palpitating and I'm looking down because I was so nervous. And I was like, I was hoping it was you. He goes, boy, look up at me. He goes, who do you want? And I go, I was hoping it'd be you. He goes, okay. He starts rubbing his face like this. He goes, I love you. And I love your mom and your dad and your sister. And you made a mistake. And I know all about making mistakes in the public eye. Because I'm going to give you 2 years to try this out and represent me. But if you don't use me in those 2 years to knock down every door to bring in all the celebrities you can, I'm going to fire you before those 2 years are up because life isn't how successful I become. This was 1996. He goes, I'm going to be a success in the world of sports and entertainment they've never seen before. He goes, it's about how successful I can make you and everybody else around me. So when you get there, you're going to bring the good people into your life, into that roller coaster, and you're going to make them a success. It was like, when I look back at it, I was like, he literally is sitting here telling me not only well, I work with you and you can represent me, but you can exploit me too.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
Use
is
me,
so
use my
unheard
name,
of.
my reputation, my connections. Yeah.
Yep.
What have you had conversation with Magic about the level of wisdom that he had at that time? Like, in
We
order
were
to
just
be
laughing
able,
about it 3 weeks ago. My fiance and
Yeah.
I, and my boy Kyle, he does signings with him all the time. So I always go at the end to get time with him. We had like a 30-minute powwow about some of these stories back then. And I said, Irvin, it's mind-blowing. Like every time I do interviews, or I had my documentary I was interviewing on last year, I've said the story. Like I could feel it. Like I was 25, 26, and I remember you looking at me and saying, I'm going to become a success in the world of sports and entertainment. And he just started to laugh and he goes, look,
and at a time where a lot of people would have probably bet against that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
For somebody to have that type of, insight, but also the insight to say that it's not the way that I'm going to become that is not about me.
Yep.
It's by making all of the people around me successful.
He knew it, and I think it's sort of in my own way. I've always sort of cherry-picked and hand-picked personal people in my life rather than a typical employee that, when he said that to me, it resonated so much.
Yeah.
That I'm like, what's the point of like being in the position that I'm in and making millions and millions of dollars and not sharing that with other people?
Right.
Like, I never needed the whole thing.
Yeah.
I want, and he's loved this about me. I'm like, if every single person that's with me now that is affiliated or works with me, and they all had some massive opportunity come their way. And I say this genuinely, that blows away anything they ever dreamed of.
Yeah.
Do you know the smile I have on my face when I go to bed at night?
Right.
Being like, I had a little part of that. That's rare. That came from Magic.
Yeah. Yeah. Directly, it sounds like. You also went in for the ask, which obviously we talk a lot about relationships, networking, friendships, and stuff like that on the show. And we kind of revisit the idea of, always be the person that's adding 51% of the value in your relationships and give, don't take and don't ask and things like that. However, there comes a point where you need to actually go in for an ask. Mm-hmm. How do you manage that in these types of, especially these types of like really high quality, very coveted, almost impossible relationships to develop? How do you manage going in for an ask with those types of relationships without feeling like you are taking advantage or trying to, get one over on?
I was just telling somebody a story this morning, a business partner in this gourmet popcorn company that I'm a part of. They were asking about leveraging a lot of my relationships. And I'm like, I don't really leverage the relationships. That's the thing, because I never want a client to feel taken advantage of. What I'll do is if it's convenient at something where it's a business opportunity that we created, a lot different.
Yeah.
It's a lot different to bring somebody that could be bringing more value to an opportunity versus inconveniencing them on their schedule to get on a call, do a FaceTime, meet somebody in person in LA. I'm very mindful of that. And I think that's also why the relationships have gone on the way they've gone on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
There's like a unspoken bank account that exists in relationships,
Yeah, and that's why I have the relationship capital that I do. They all know that. Now, look, I think my book was different. I think that was life and death.
Yeah. And
Magic, showed me again the big brother that he is. He wrote the foreword. He hosted a major event with me in New York City. Jeannie Buss came through. Mark Cuban was, emailing me about, what you want it on Twitter, you want it on Instagram, you want it everywhere. So proud of you, DP. His brother Brian's in recovery. I mean, that was different. That's something that I had no problem following up with people, because every single one of them knows somebody
like this is
in
why
their
I
family
exist.
that's suffering from addiction.
Yeah.
And if somebody, I didn't have any, there's nobody I would ever think, oh, Darren's taking advantage, because I didn't write the book to make money. I wrote the book as a form of therapy to me, and then to help save so many lives, and it's still doing it. So that was like my springboard to get the message out there, to show people, it doesn't matter if you're Park Avenue or Park Bench or Yale or jail. addiction will take you to your knees.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's kind of like picking and choosing. So if there's anything that has to do with my Aiming High Foundation, where we scholarship 25, 30 people a year to treatment, that I have no problem asking.
Yeah.
That's different. But when it's something that, you know, business related, I think people have to understand, if, you know, for your listeners, if it's a big time busy executive, like, you just want to make sure you don't inconvenience them, you know, and more importantly, I mean, you hear me talk about this all the time. Stop talking about business all the time.
Yeah.
Find out their likes, their dislikes, find out about their family, find out where they went to college, find out where they grew up, find out their hobbies, you know, what they like to do in their downtime, where they like to go on vacation. Like,
Speak
if
my
you
language,
put
man.
that stuff first, the business part will come organically.
Yeah, and easy. Like when you go in for the ask, it doesn't feel like an ask when you're in that type of a position. You know,
two people that are entrepreneurial, or if you're in that same world or at the same lane, it's just going to flow at some point.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? But if you start that foundation based off of trust and that personal vibration to get to know everything, you know, their wife, their kids, like that small talk is everything because it separates you from every single other person that just wants to go in there, get a PO, get a check, get that business relationship
what's in it
going.
for me person. Yeah.
You know, and you don't have many opportunities.
Right.
Especially in today's world. You mess up once with the right person and you do it wrong. Guess what? Word of mouth travels really, really fast that you're not authentic.
Yep.
This wasn't organic. You're not sincere.
You're a time waster.
You've got one thing that you're looking to get accomplished, and it just doesn't feel good. I pick up on people right away. Obviously, still happens to me, but, you know, I'll have people within, I mean, I had a guy that asked me about some, I forget, some great preacher the other day, and winds up, you know, at the end of the conversation, asked me for a favor for one of my clients. And I'm like, you know, I was like I wanted to go see this preacher. And then he brings up this thing about Goggins. And I'm like,
well, you just automatically put them in a different bucket. You know what I mean? They just, like, it goes through the filtration system in your brain.
And now what
it's
should have done is wait a couple weeks on the second part.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Send a couple texts about that. And how you doing? You know, make small talk. And then if you bring it up, or, you know, I hope this isn't like an inconvenience, or if you don't mind me asking, it's a way to word it.
Yeah, right.
You know, everybody's trying to get ahead, but you know, I think our generation works so much harder than this young one that just has social media and the ability to DM like at their fingertips. And I just don't think they know.
They think the connection is the end goal, when the connection is just the starting point.
The relationship is the end goal.
It's just, right, exactly. Like, you can't build a relationship unless you have the connection, but the connection is not where, you know, I always liken it to like dating and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, you're not asking your girl to marry you on your first date.
Exactly.
It's the same exact thing. But for some reason, it's just okay in the business world. People do it all the time, which is one reason, you know, I think the last time you came on the show was called Build Your Network. We rebranded it to Travis Makes Friends because that was always, like, through the years of researching and all the people I talked to, that was basically my main takeaway. It was like, networking kind of sucks, because people who like look at it as networking do it so terribly, and it makes you feel gross when you leave the interaction. And, you know, it's just like you feel used, you feel like a pawn on their chessboard, and it's just like, you know what, I no longer feel the immediate need to respond to your text message when you shoot me a text.
100%,
you know what I mean?
because then you start prioritizing, because everything's an energy suck too. And, you know, I talk so much about my personal development protocol and everything I do, from grounding, meditation in the morning, you know, my ice bath, cold shower, hydrogen water, you know, prayer. I do NLP, you know, a handful of sessions every year, my 12-step meetings. And I think when you're in and helping serve as many people as possible, working out, dieting, I think red light therapy, all that stuff. I think when you're in that vibration, you feel it, and you feel it. You know what I'm saying? Like that, how unauthentic, you know, people could be. So that's why as we get older, we got to keep our circle tighter. I was on the phone with my boy Michael yesterday for about 45 minutes. We do a lot of business. He does a lot of business with me for Larry Bird. And there was nothing about business. It was just 45 minutes about like recovering, and now he has somebody near and dear to him that's got 3 years, and he just admires so much him coming on up on 18, and how every single day I attack it even more passionately than I ever did before, and that through all of this and the way that I've been living, like, wealth means something completely different to me than everybody else. Like, I'm a trillionaire in the world of healing. Like, the amount of time, money, energy, effort, that's what makes me feel like I won the lottery.
Yeah.
Because I've seen that people actually listen to me and take my guidance. So what do? I don't have drugs and alcohol issues, but I have, because I know God works through me. And, when I had that white light moment, bro, on July 2nd, 2008, on my knees, and I screamed out to God in my apartment in New York City, take the money, take the business, take the notoriety, and a single day of freedom. If you take me out of hell, I'll spend one day at a time taking others out, with me. I had a white light moment. Like, I felt the shock go through my body, and something left me and something changed in me. And so I love speaking, especially with your audience, because you have such a great following, like the younger generation, like, understand about the power of relationship building, understand what we have to do to stay on our own healing path, and what's really valuable in life.
Yeah.
And we all have trauma. We all have unresolved shit. I guess I can say it on this show.
Yeah.
And it's never ending. I'm not fully healed. New character defects might pop up, but I'm consciously aware of it. And I want to, I gave you all these nuggets when I was on last time. I strive every day to say what I mean what I say, and not say and mean. Because I think that keeps you in a frequency of peace. Yeah. In a heated confrontation, put your ego aside. Don't send the text. Don't send the email. Don't open up your big fat mouth. Try to understand them instead of you being understood. Yeah. And it's better to feel all right than right. Because you might be right. You might make a right point at the end, but your frequency and vibration is now off for several days, or you might have just jeopardized a friendship. That's something could have came out wrong. Yeah, like, you pat yourself on the back because you're like, I won. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, what you won? What exactly? What did you win at the end of the day? And like you see so much, with the cars and the jets and the bling, and it's like that's not fulfillment. Like, I love the fact that God touched me to be a voice on all this stuff, because all my friends saw me in my late teens and 20s, and with the cars and the girls, and first went to buy my own, big condo, and the diamonds and the bling. And I was just like, wow, I can't even believe at one point that's what, validated me from an external space. Yeah. Because the inner little Darren on the inside was so broken and was crying out for attention and validation until I started doing the work.
What did you notice in your external relationships, so relationships outside of just you, when you fixed a lot of these things internally?
I think I started manifesting better quality people into my life. Yeah. And the real ones that were always there started looking at me differently. Yeah. And there was a different level of respect. And I didn't do it to get a different level of respect. I did it because I wanted to live.
That's right. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Right. But now they're almost talking to me about maybe some challenges they have, or they have family members that they need me to speak to, or a coworker or a colleague. Because, people in recovery, man, especially the ones that do the deal right with the 12-step fellowship, the way me and my spiritual brothers and sisters do it, we're more qualified than any doctor on earth, and it gives us some sort of enlightened superpower ability that I could break through that wall. Yeah. One-on-one with somebody that's been a disaster for 10 years, more than an interventionist, more than doctors prescribing all these medications, because I know what you're feeling. I know what it's like to be high. I also know what it's like to want to be high, which is even worse, and not have what you need. And the discomfort and the out-of-body experience of, I'm not going to survive this, being up in your head, not getting the noises to stop. But I also found a solution. So to me, to be able to share that solution, see the lights come on in people's eyes, is the greatest thing in the world.
What is that? What is that solution in your words?
I just think, for me, it's, the 12-step, fellowship, without referring to exactly what it is, because sometimes people get offended. I think to me, and 99% of the people I know that made it, go to the old school, traditional meetings, Zoom meetings. I think prayer is so important. I think finding a spiritual higher power greater than yourself is a must. For me, I choose God because I know He's been real in my life. I think always working on those character defects. I think being vigilant of people, places, and things that are around it. Because if you don't change that for the upgrades, you have no shot. These are all techniques that don't always require a 12-step fellowship, because I know that's not for everybody either. But there's so many other ways that you can get in tune to, working on the mommy and daddy trauma, because we all have it. You could have a Brady Bunch and Partridge family, mom and dad. I don't care who you are. We all got trauma.
There's something there. Exactly.
Every single one of them.
Which is the worst thing about being a parent.
Every single one.
That's what I told my wife when we had kids.
I've seen Tony Robbins and other people talk about it. You're not taught how to be a parent. Nobody is. You figure it out along the way.
That's what I told my wife.
So when they're taking stuff in from their mothers and fathers and bringing it in, and however their nervous system reacts, we're picking that stuff up at a very young age. We're seeing, hearing. And, some of it, there's good and bad trauma. I mean, I had a friend that I lost, unfortunately, to drug addiction. You would have thought, he had a very charmed life growing up. We went to Livingston High School together. And 3 years ago, I tried getting him sober, and they found him in his condo in Florida. He overdosed. And when I started getting him to, 12-step meetings out here, because he lived in LA for a while, he was open and honest about it. Probably because, I thought driving a Porsche in high school and having everything that I needed, and my mom and dad, being doctors, like I thought I was the last person who ever happened. That to me is sort of a good trauma. You were privileged, but you got to a point where you never found you. When high school ended and then college flew by like that, you didn't feel worthy of anything because you allowed what they did to be your identification. And unfortunately, I think that happens too often too.
Yeah, that's what they say. Connection is the opposite of addiction.
Exactly.
Something like that in 12-step. But it's connection in multiple ways, right? It's connection to community through 12-step, or people, putting yourself in an environment that allows you to stay away from these things, but also connection to something higher, a creator, universe, whatever, some form of a higher power that you can connect with. It's also connection to yourself or to your inner child. It's also you know what I mean? It's connection is such an all-encompassing word.
Philanthropic efforts. I think any sort of charity,
contribution
near dear to you, because it's like none of us are responsible for our thoughts. We have a million thoughts a day, but we are responsible for how long you want to think those thoughts and how long you want to roll around in it. So if you're able to find an organization that not only lights you up, but lights other people up that are part of that for doing good, that's where the self-worth comes from. That's where the self-esteem comes from. It never came from my business. It never came from the money and the success. The money's highs and lows all the time as an entrepreneur. No, it came from that. It came from being so impactful to see somebody else make the change, because now it's their mother, their father, their coworkers, their sister, brother, cousin, friends, just impacted. And it's the same thing. Now, I think my situation, I think it's the fellowship. I've always disagreed with calling it a disease. I think it could be a dis-ease. I think it's more of an allergy of a hopeless body state and mind. I think it's selfish to refer to it as that, because other diseases are real. Ours is by choice. But when you do that type of work, man, it is like, it's just incredible. When I hear friends, like when it's Thanksgiving and they're going to the homeless shelter and feeding like that's all you got to do. Like that, you don't need to run to the doctor I'm not a doctor, but you don't need to run to the doctor every time to get a refund. You're antidepressant. Start doing things a little bit differently to get out of self. Start doing things to make other people happy. If you can walk and talk and get out of the house and get in an Uber and get in your car and do something for, kids hospital, kids with cancer or whatever it might be, senior citizens that don't have family, it could be Alzheimer's, diabetes, like any sort of organization, like volunteer work.
Did you ever hear the study that was done? I think it was called Rat Park. Did you ever hear about that study?
No.
I want to get this guy's name because I want to give him credit for putting the study together. But we've done when we did the rebrand from Village Network to Travis Makes Friends. I went like a deep dive into like the loneliness epidemic and just uncovered all of these stats and all this different data that was honestly pretty mind-blowing when you start looking at how many people are suffering from loneliness, even though we're in a world that's theoretically more connected than it's ever been. But there was a study that was done. Let's see here. Rat Park. Dr. Bruce Alexander did this study in the 1970s. The come to be Rat Park. Researchers had already proved that when rats were placed in a cage all alone with no other community of rats and offered 2 water bottles, one filled with water and the other filled with heroin or cocaine, the rats would repetitively drink from the drug-laced bottles until they all overdosed and died. So all of them overdosed and died. Like pigeons pressing a pleasure lever. They were relentless until their bodies and brains were overcome and they died. But Dr. Bruce Alexander wondered, is this about the drug or might it be related to the setting that they were in? So to test his hypothesis, he put rats in rat parks where they were, among others, free to roam and play, to socialize, to have sex, and they were given the same access to the same 2 types of drug-laced bottles. When inhabiting a rat park, they remarkably preferred the plain water. Even when they did drink from the drug-filled bottle, they did so intermittently, not obsessively, and never overdosed. And I thought those 2 words I thought were really powerful, where the first one was all of them overdosed and the second one was none of them Like that's so rare to find in studies where it's an all or none type of a thing, and the only variable in their control was putting them in a community of other rats. You know what I mean? Where it's like you have that sense of belonging, you have that sense of peace that we were talking about earlier. You know, but I thought that was a really powerful study.
And I've got other people that live, sort of the same life. We all, try to just serve as often as possible because peace is first, and then I think happiness is second. Obviously health is what everybody wants, but I think when you can be in that peaceful state, man, it's everything. Yeah. Like you're like bulletproof on life, and I try to just stay there as often as possible because I just know how rare it is. Yeah. When you have that, just kind of, hold on to it. And I'm blessed to be around, some of the greatest mindset and successful people and people of fame that, was once in a lifetime. So I love to pick from their mindset too. I mean, Goggins and I have gotten into so many deep talks.
I'm sure.
I don't know if I ever had you at one of his keynotes, but I mean, man, the guy will walk in with sweatpants, running sneakers, no jewelry, T-shirt, long sleeve shirt might be. I mean, he's so unaffected. Like, he doesn't look at himself as a celebrity. He can care less about all the freaking money. Just wants to keep being of impact, And that's such a rarity, especially, in my industry. And,
absolutely. Yeah.
Even him and I, when we connected the first time for an event, I booked him in Atlanta. My boy Vic, Steve worked with me. We had, this was 10 months later, and the minute we announced that we booked him, word of mouth started going around the industry real quick. And then Fleischman called me. It was just nuts.
I hear you.
Oh my God, nobody has Goggins. How did you? So I flew myself the first time to Atlanta. This was almost a year in advance from the one that we booked him at. And him and I were in the green room, gave him my book, and I'll never forget the words because he worked for some badass motherfuckers, bro. There's a lot of people I respect the shit out of, and he's showing Jennifer goes, look, Ali Frazier, magic. Sounds like she left, and he just, Steve actually heard it on a phone call, but this is the first time he came up. He goes, forget all them other agencies and the big ones that keep calling. Because, motherfucker, I don't care about the friggin' money because you go to war with yourself every day to make the world a better place. I've seen your shit online. And he goes, so you're my motherfucker. I'm working with you.
These are direct Goggins quotes too. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's funny, man. It's funny how the internet has introduced a whole new like sphere of clientele for you, where someone like Goggins wouldn't have even been on your radar,
well, I think it's
a decade
internet, but I also
ago.
think I think it's on this recovery journey.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's how I met you.
Yeah.
I was with Jay Shetty for 3.5 hours at his house last Monday. It's how I met Jay. Lewis Howes, good friend. Like, all these people, at some point, something from aiming high and my personal journey connected us, and people know I'm not a taker. And I'm a giver, not just in, helping people heal and, get sober in every other way, whatever I can do. I've had, Lewis around magic, like I said, he's my boy. Like, even Jay's asked me, I got Jeannie Buss wound up doing, Jay's podcast. When he called me to thank me, he was in England. That was 5 years ago in January, and Think Like a Monk was like #1 bestseller in the world. And he just sounded exhausted. He talked about it on the podcast, that I just told him, I go, bro, you got to be selfless at times, right? I go, but you also have to be selfish more times than not, because if you're not selfish more times than not, you can't be selfless. You're going to burn out. And
got to let that cup overflow.
I think the way I said it, he goes, Darren, he goes, I've been around you a couple of times. We spoke on the phone a few times. Like, your story, like your techniques and the way you just look at things and your recovery journey, like, he goes, it's so crazy. Because would you come and be a guest on my podcast? I never built up a relationship for that. I never would have asked him. That's how it happened.
Yeah. Well, it turns out when you're a friend to people, they want to keep talking to you, and you have a worthy message, something that obviously a lot of people struggle with.
And I think just finally being so authentic that I can sit here and tell you and anyone my deepest, darkest,
the shit.
All of it, and just own it and appreciate and, love every minute, of it, because I know it all had to happen to be sitting here, happy, joyous, and free. And knowing exactly who I am, because a lot of people unfulfilled out there, billionaires that I know, they didn't do the work, and they didn't get in touch with self, and I think we all need a lot of help. And I think what's really separated me is, like I said, that I can live my truth out loud. And like I said, embrace it. I haven't been a perfect person, far from it. I'm pretty proud when I look back, and most of my ex-girlfriends still speak to me. My ex-wife and I have a good relationship. My ex-fiance is in Australia. She just got remarried and had a baby. I mean, my current fiance went to their baby shower. Like, I think that's something that, a lot of them, especially Simone, my ex-wife, saw me at my worst. And the fact that when we can get in these deep talks now, that, emotional ones, we'll cry, happy tears, that, maybe the relationship wasn't meant to be, but maybe the calling was, she was the exact person I needed on July 2nd, 2008, to make that turn. And I think you're supposed to look at your past and let it make you better, not bitter. I think a lot of people forget that.
How do you grapple with that when you? I feel that a lot of people who are coming from a past like that are doing their best to run away from it. When in reality, that's probably the opposite. Yeah. That's not fun.
No. I mean, like I said, maybe it took me a couple years or so, but I eventually just got to a point. I think it was my sponsor, Steve. I think it was probably right around the time of my 1 year sober birthday. I was in France with Simone. It was July 2nd, 2009. I'm getting all these text messages, and people are saying how proud they are. And my sponsor, Steve Dilval, calls me. He's my #1 support system. We hate using the word sponsor because it's my big brother. I'm going to be in New Jersey next week. I'm going to have lunch with him on Monday. And he calls me up and he goes, "How's it feel, Mr. 1 Year?" I'm like, "It feels unbelievable." He goes, "Now look, I got to talk to you." He goes, you've been doing real good, but you're missing the most important part. You've been a selfish taker. I thought he was joking.
Yeah,
and I go, what do you mean? He goes, you've been just coming to meetings and taking the past year. He goes, I got a feeling that with the people you know and the platform that you could build, that if you start getting more vocal, you're going to be able to help more people than any of us put together. And I said, well, you think maybe, I should thank everybody on Facebook doing an announcement because that would be a good start. And I did it. I remember I was in cons and I did it, and hundreds of comments and likes. My mom, of course, was a little bit embarrassed. She didn't want me. My dad was super proud. And I never looked back because the amount of direct messages I was getting from people, I'm like, now I understand you can't keep it unless you give it away. But it doesn't just come down to recovery. It just comes down to people in life that are struggling in general that, help as many people as you can have a better day.
You can't keep it
have a better life.
Away. That's a great phrase to live by. It's that moving from scarcity to abundance, where instead of having this like closed hand where you're holding the whatever, money, knowledge, truth, whatever it is that you feel is valuable. When you hold it like that, it makes you feel like you can kind of like protect it, that it's yours. But the problem also with doing that is like you can't receive anything either if your hands closed all the time and you got a tight fist around the things that you have. It's like you have to open that hand and freely give of what you have learned or what you have accumulated in order to be able to see more things come into your life so that you can continue giving more, so that you can continue.
And that was one thing I struggled with. Magic's helped me with it. Tim Story's a dear friend. We both talked about that we struggle with the receiving. We had a funny Rolex story, how we both got Rolexes given to us. This was a gift. Like he had his, like a presidential or very wealthy client took him to a store in Newport Beach and he didn't want it and he bought it for him anyway. Because I go, Tim, that's literally me. And he goes, we have to work on the receiving more. And Magic will always tell me that, he goes, what did you think God was going to do? He goes, you have to be open to receiving because you give to not receive. You give because it feels right. So what he does is he blesses you abundantly on the other side so then you can keep giving and giving and giving. And he goes, look at everybody in my life, my inner circle. That's how it happens. You don't do it. I mean, you do it because you think you're doing something good. Nothing's coming back to you. When you're doing it because when you pray and you said, oh God, I did this week. I really hope this opportunity is not happening.
The expectation ruins it.
You do, and you bend over backwards 99% of the time and give and give and give. And I just can't explain it. I'm living proof. The abundant blessing comes in so many other ways.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing is like, even if it didn't, the internal peace that you have from participating in that part of the equation.
That's where the self-esteem comes from. Doing esteemable acts. So if one thing or 50 things happen, I'm still not doing it for that. I'm doing it because I go to bed at night feeling whole. It allows me, to feel closer to God. It allows me to feel more peaceful. And when I pray before I go to bed, it's just, it's just the ultimate sense of fulfillment. To know that I got it. It took a little while. I've probably been in this vibration now for, my guy Landry really helped me a lot more and deeper with the, spiritual healing and the meditation. I met him maybe 53, so I think it's about 2.5, 3 years now. I really stepped up the personal development protocol and really got in touch with those moments where I'm in a trance state and talking to that little Darren and bringing him to, the current day. I mean, you've heard these stories enough. It's real. I mean, you could do that. Nothing against like traditional therapy, but
sure.
When you could do that stuff, it's almost like instantaneous. You wake up the next day feeling like a whole new person.
Well, and to your point though, when you experience that level of energy, frequency, vibration, whatever word you want to assign to it, that's how you know what friendships or relationships are serving you and which ones are probably trying to take advantage. Like it becomes so much easier to sense that because it's just a completely different vibe that they're giving you.
You become so consciously aware.
Your intuition is so sharp.
Who around you. isn't authentic, who is, you could feel the ones that are the takers.
Right.
It's just your energy's off.
Yeah, you obviously were sort of on the other end of this for a very long time, meaning like you were the one getting into rooms, signing Magic, and then getting, Carmen Electra and Pam Anderson and Denise Richards, and then Dennis Rodman, and now David Goggins, and some online personalities and people that you work with like that. You were sort of on the other end of that, where you were looking at these relationships and asking yourself, how do I maintain and how do I build, how do I add value and things like that. But now that you've solidified yourself as this person, now it's sort of on the other end where now people are coming to you and you're sort of watching the opposite happen with other people where you're like, oh, that person understands it, or that person is wildly off base here. How have you managed your ability to say no or say yes when you feel like there's, there's something good there?
Carla, my assistant, or Matilda, my office, will do it. Yeah, because they just know that.
Just outsource the gatekeeping to them.
I really did a great job at slowing down my traveling this year. I did stem cells for longevity in Cabo at Restem. Was unbelievable.
Really?
I mean, like, my labs were the best they've ever been 3 weeks after I came back. Wow. Just absolutely unbelievable. And my boy, Dr. Gonzalez, set it up because, like I said, the money and the business, it takes care of itself. And if there's slower months or slower quarters or slower years, like, how about this? How about I don't give away as much money that year that I usually give away, because I love giving away as much as I can to help bless other people. Yep. You just change your lifestyle. Common sense for the younger generation. If it's not coming dial down your lifestyle, because I lived as large as anybody, because all you're doing is putting pressure on yourself, and now you're trying to keep up with the Joneses and live this facade.
For the sake of everybody else.
So everybody really truly doesn't care about you at the end of the day. You need to think that they're thinking of it. They're really not. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
To me, it's the business always comes second now. Like, my clients know I'll never shortchange them on my work ethic and bringing opportunities and creating opportunities. But this comes first and foremost. If I'm off, I'm going to do everything I need to do to take care of me. Yeah,
because the cool thing about it to me is that you get to choose which path you want to take, like which circle you would rather have. And both of them work to a certain extent, meaning like if you go the path that you were talking about before, you get the watches and the cars and the girls and the penthouses and all the other things that everybody else looks at as like pinnacle of success. It's like you can surround yourself with a bunch of people like pretty immediately, you know what I mean? But what happens is you're just surrounding yourself with other people who value those things as the most important things in life. Exactly. And you're creating your circle of people to be these taker energy.
Well, all you got to do is ask yourself, if you didn't have all that stuff, would they still be your friends?
Yep. And the answer is probably no.
Yeah. And look, I understand it's important to a lot of people. Look, I live in a beautiful penthouse in LA. I drive a Range Rover, but I'm not that guy that would ever, I don't care, like, I'm never going out buying Ferraris. Like, that's just me. Like, I understand that's important to people. You work your ass off, go ahead and do it. But along the way, understand what fulfillment is about.
Right. What's the reason you're doing it?
You're doing this to make up for the lack of the failed businesses, the verbal bullying, the teasing, the unresolved trauma with mom, dad, sister, brother, ex-significant others. Yeah. That's the part that people need to be consciously aware of. Yep. Enjoy your life. You're crushing it, whatever. Life's meant to enjoy it, travel, buy nice things, but understand what place it's coming from. Yeah. Is it that sort of broken soul inside of you? Or is it because, you worked your ass off and you earned, and that's fine too. But make sure you're a giver at the same time. Make sure you're not just taking and taking and taking. Make sure you have those charities dialed in and you have the ability to take care and bless other people, as well as enjoying your own life with the big, beautiful homes, the cars, the jets, the shopping, all that stuff.
Well, I mean, my other podcast is Travis Makes Money, so it's like, it's not like we're sitting here vilifying money or material things or whatever, it's just that there's a big difference between doing it for the right reasons and doing it for the wrong reasons.
That's all I'm always said. I say that all the time. Yeah. You have to realize, like, where the payoff is, like, what are you getting out of it and why? And if it's coming from an authentic place, great. Like,
right. If you just love watches, go get a watch.
Exactly.
That's not the activity of getting a watch doesn't automatically make you a douchebag. Yep. You know what I mean?
I was at January, at the end of January, I had my boy Derek Faye's wedding, And I got to spend a lot of time with Adam Weitzman.
Oh, yeah.
He's, I mean, just a beautiful human being, you know, self-made billionaire. And we text each other every other day how much we love each other. And I'm going to try to see him next week. And I'm there, and he's just like, man, because it's just, it's very rare that people get it. Like, there's nothing he can't buy and do, but nothing makes him happier than blessing others. And he knows I'm not where he is, but it doesn't matter. I'm still in the same frequency, you know, and he, you know, wanted to know so much about like the Ali Frazier experience and like magic. And he's the biggest Goggins fan ever. So there's no ego. It's just literally two guys that work their ass off and, you know, put God first and put service work. Yeah. And the other stuff is fun and nice, but it doesn't define who we are.
Darren, dude, I always love talking to you, man. I wish we could keep just chatting for the next few hours. But I know you're a busy guy. You got a bunch of places to go and stuff like that. Where can people go to continue connecting with you, learning more from you, and downloading some of this information you've got?
So Instagram is @agent_DP. What else do we have? aiminghighfoundation.org.
And
if you're struggling and you need you know, a scholarship, or if you know, want to be a blessing to us and make a donation, you could do it there too. And then third and last, the business side, if people want to check us out, it's princemarketinggroup.com.
princemarketinggroup.com. Go check out some of the stuff that Darren's posting on social. He's always up to cool things, hanging around the coolest people, sharing really cool stuff, but also doesn't ever lose sight of the main thing, which for him is the higher calling of helping people through addiction and things like that. So Aiming High is the book and the organization. Prince Marketing Group is where you can go do some business with them if you have some business to do. And then everybody else at agent_DP over on Instagram. Go follow him and check out some of the stuff he's putting out. Darren, always appreciate you, man. Everybody else listening, remember to leave every relationship better than you found it. We'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.